a tattoo. I'll always have you. My inhibitions fade away.
All right, so even though I've been in this space before, I think I'm slowly, or have been slowly, slipping back into being in a space where I don't know what I want to publish. So of course I have my duet series that has been like my number one. I'm going to do this no matter what. But there's also been two other books like in the meantime. Well, the main one was the holiday novel that I'm like, oh, I want to maybe release this one. And I think I'm getting hung up on, I don't want to say something that's superficial, but it's kind of odd where excuse me, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I get this published by the holiday time, which is, that's fine, that's a good benchmark, but it's also like for the amount of work that goes into getting a book ready, and I know for a fact that that particular book is not ready. There's a lot that needs to happen. There's some growth that needed to happen in order to write some other scenes in that book, and I still have to go through and kind of replot some of the endings. Just a lot going on. And with this duet series, I think my biggest issue is that I want so desperately to have a rapid release one of the books, and then maybe 3 months later, 2 months later, release the second one. But I'm also thinking, like, in the grand scheme of things, does that even matter? Yes, backlist is key. Yes, having multiple books is like ideal. It's like, I liken it to being a recording artist. You can have one album that does great, but you also have to go on tour to make your money. And the more albums you have, the more, I hesitate to say this, but stans and fans you get who then support your music. And I also think of it in a way of like a musical artist joining a label, like being traditionally published versus being indie, say like Tinashe and JoJo, where you, and Prince, because Prince was like, fuck all this, I'm making my own money. But that's what I think about. And in the grand scheme of things, I don't think a lot of this really matters, because let's say I publish my book today, and then the second part of it a month from now, and then I do the holiday novel in November. By December of this year, they're all out. Like, so it's not to be like it doesn't matter, because, you know, it does, but I don't know that there is the audience there that is waiting with bated breath to get whatever story I'm telling. And that's the joy and the downfall of being in this space, is much like even with YouTube, like with the YouTube channel. And I see a lot of people saying, like, you know, you have one or start one now, and in the beginning you can do what you want. You can play around with certain themes and certain videos and do whatever is needed or whatever you feel, and then you'll eventually like kind of settle into what the audience wants, or, you know, what you want. And it's the same thing. I'm very early on. I know I have some family members that are waiting. My aunt has been fussing me out like, why isn't this book out yet? But being in this space is good because it's new. You know, like, no one has this expectation of you. Just do the work. And I think that, I know that there's this perfectionist mindset that I'm dealing with, and that's not entirely the problem. I think that's a more on the minor side of my issues when it comes to this publishing thing. But then there's also, let me walk that back. Even the perfectionist part of it is not even the story, because I'm very confident in my story. I'm very confident in my writing ability. Where the perfectionist thing comes in is with like book covers. For whatever reason, and not for whatever reason, I know what the reason is, I have an idea of what I want my book covers to look like. I'm also open to that being challenged by someone who is a designer. I'm open to a collaborative end result. But because I want these two books to be very similar so they can look like they're one series, that shouldn't even be an issue. But I'm wrecking my brain. Then I'm like, it's the timeline as well. Like what goes where. I've looked at so many different videos about, you know, you write the book and then you edit it, and you have your beta readers and you have your alpha readers, then you have your certain types of editors, and you have your cover designer, then you have your pre-release. Like it's a lot. And I'm not saying it's a lot as a complaint, because, you know, life comes with tons of steps, but it's a lot where, like, I could say there's no book on this, but there's several books on this, you know, and there are always going to be certain variations of, like, some people say do this, some people say do that, and ultimately you just have to do what works for you, or get some sort of mentor, or find the advice of someone you trust or admire and just do that. A lot of it will be trial and error. And the funny thing is, I've done this all before, but I think before my goals were always the same: to be an author, to be a writer, to put books out there. But I think before, there was just this angst of like, let's do it, it's done. And with that, though, I kind of blew through the process in all the best ways of like getting work out there. It also had its drawbacks where, like, the editing was not where it needed to be. It was just like, fuck it. Like, there's one book that I had, it was just like, look at this first draft, let's put it out into the world. So that's kind of where I am, and I've been dealing with the internal stresses of publishing, and what does that look like, and, you know, even like what platforms to use. Are you getting an ISBN of your own? Do you get one provided by the website? And then what are your goals look like? Like, do you want to go wide? Do you want to go KDP? Do you, like, what are other people doing who, even if you don't like know them intimately or their work is similar to yours? All in all, this is I guess a bit of a check-in, showing that though I've gone through this process years ago, and I've now refined it to make it more polished and make it more of a career move, albeit slowly, or if there's an instant hit, instant success. There are things that are different between the two, and maybe I'll do some sort of video podcast or something, kind of breaking down the first round of publishing from years ago to like this, now that my ideals about this process has changed. I don't know, just something to think about. So I think I'll wrap up here. I'm Rayne Coleman. I am a writer. I write stories about Black people in varying situations, love stories, period piece, sci-fi, all that good stuff. Currently, I am in my contemporary slice of life, romance adjacent love story bag with my duet series. Depending on if I pivot and do the holiday novel, it'll be a contemporary holiday love story bag. But follow me on my writer's journey, and until next time, you know, read something, write something, and come back and tell me, Rayne.
Let you get up under my skin. I wanna let the ink dry, but wanna try till it's right. Here we go again.